All right, thank you, sir. Can you see everything okay?
We can see you
Can
fine,
you see
thank you.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining, and special thanks to all the nice folks at Open Reality for arranging this. Much appreciated. So today we're going to talk about our new version 8.0 of the Ekahau Site Survey tool. In case you're lazy or are diagnosed with ADHD, you can already go to our website. It's also all there. But if you're into listening to 1 hour of, or let's say 30 minutes overview of the product, what's new in a very focused fashion, then carry on listening. I'll try and not beat up my keyboard. So that's the thank you slide. Thanks guys for staying on. About us, Mikko, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, so I'm Mikko and I'm the product line manager of Ekahau Site Survey and so on. So yeah, I lead the R&D team, and I try to listen to you guys, what you have on your mind, how the project works and things like that. And yeah, I help our support, our sales guys, our distributors, whatsoever. So any questions, feature requests you have, let me know.
Exactly, and you can find us both easily on Twitter. Mikko is at Ekamikko, and I'm at my first name, my last name. And if you're not already on Twitter and you're interested in Wi-Fi, you really should be. It's a great place to learn Wi-Fi. All the latest news are there the first time and things like that. I'm Jussi. I run the Wi-Fi design tools business unit here at Ekahau. And yeah, that's that. Today's webinar, even though we're not engineers by title, we're engineers by tradition and training, so this will be a fairly technical webinar. So feel free to jump in with any technical or non-technical questions you may have at any point. So let's try to keep this as interactive as possible. And usually it happens so that whenever anybody asks the first question and we take it on the air, then the questions start flowing in. So Carlos Ananuevo from Open Reality will be our questions guy, and the second you start seeing questions, feel free to ask so that we start getting more and more of those. So
yeah, and I'll be answering questions on the questions board, so yeah, keep the questions coming.
Exactly. So before we get started, could somebody write an example question on the questions board so that we see that it's actually working okay? That would be much appreciated.
We've got a couple of questions just saying hi and things like that, so it's definitely working.
All right, very good, very good. So keep those questions coming whenever you have anything to ask. Mikko is answering all the time behind the scenes, and Carlos will be taking some of those on the air as well.
Sounds good.
All right, we're ready to go? We sure are. Regarding Open Reality and Ekahau, we've been doing business, like as the gentleman before mentioned, for a long time. And you know, in the UK region, you have any questions regarding our tools, Open Reality guys are the ones to go. So you could think of these three guys, Matt, Steve, and Carlos, as the James May, Richard Hammond, and Jeremy Clarkson of Open Reality. So you know, nice, fun bunch of guys, but they also have the knowledge to give you something useful. So if you're interested in checking out what we have out on the web, there's tons of material there. That's the website address. But today we'll talk about like what we've done recently with the product line, and focusing on Ekahau Site Survey 8. So 1.5 years ago, we started thinking like, how should we push this product and product line forward? And we kind of talked a lot to different people. We were lucky to have some customers, and then we had internal talks, and then we came to the opinion that, you know, if we make a product that's good enough or that's much better than any other, and we keep updating it and we keep listening to our customers, maybe that will work. So that's kind of what we've tried to do, and Ekahau Site Survey version 8 tries to be an example of that. that's the wall of fame. Just a couple of folks who currently use our tools from, Cisco, Ruckus, whoever. There's more testimonials on our website, but many of these have been using different Wi-Fi tools before, or like half of these guys were on different tools until, let's say, a year from now, and they've been happy enough with our stuff to give their names and faces and quotes. So we didn't just, take random pictures out of LinkedIn and hook them up with quotes. This is actual stuff. Even after the webinar, so what you'll see is Ekahau Site Survey 8, but if there's further things that you would like to see on the product, or things that don't work, or things we should prioritize better, feel free to reach out. The best person for that is Mikko, since he's the product manager. So here's his contact details. Also on Twitter, you can actually add a feature request into our tool directly in Twitter. So if you use hashtag ESS request, that request is automatically logged from Twitter to our product management system. So if you want to push your feature request through right away, use that. Okay, so glance to the history. This is what our website looked like a couple of months ago. Ekahau was mostly a location tracking system business, looking at it from the web page. But given that the Wi-Fi design tools business unit of Ekahau has grown a lot, it is now side by side there. If you go to the website, you will see that both businesses are treated equally. And this is just to say that we are growing, we are hiring more and more people to do the things to the product that you are after. We are hiring more and more people to provide you better technical support. So we're really trying hard to help you guys out. That's just the mobile stuff. 2 slides before we jump into the tool, 8.0 tool. First of all, if you're not already trained on Wi-Fi and on our products, I would very highly recommend Keith Parsons' 3-day Wi-Fi Ekahau training and certification course. Keith is one of the best known people in the Wi-Fi industry. He's been training wireless for 20+ years. He's seen it all. Some people say he has surveyed every school in the United States. Don't know if that's true, but he could be called the Stig of Wi-Fi, really. He's that good. So take his course, go to ekahau.com/training and check out the course schedule. Here's just a snapshot of this year's schedule. So, there's a lot of dates. Many of those are already fully booked, but, and Keith is coming to the UK every now and then. And if you see a need for another UK class, feel free to reach out to Matt, Steve, Carlos, everybody at the Open Reality team, and they will be happy to book another training if there's a need. Did I promise too much, Carlos, or is that fair to say that you guys will invite Keith over for another training if there's more need for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have already filled up a particular customer course that was requested. So if anybody wants to reach out to us, they'd be very welcome, and we will do our best to support you.
Thanks, Carlos. The courses are really well received, and it's not just Ekahau, it's actually Wi-Fi design and deployment mostly, but it's using our tools, of course. Then there's the other way to learn, which is online. So we have dozens of hours of video training material available at ekahau.com/training. No need to log in. The videos are there, easily accessible. The same site that hosts the classroom trainings also hosts the webinar recordings, videos, what have you. Check it out. It's really, really useful. That's our trainer, Amanda, there. All right. So on to Ekahau Site Survey version 8 already. All right. And now you say it's about time. It sure is. So we won't bother you with this. This just has to say, a design of a Wi-Fi network comes in different stages, from requirements to simulation to site surveys to monitoring. So that's you know, I show this slide every time just because this is what we try to keep in mind, that we need to speed up or make easier each process of the Wi-Fi network lifecycle. We here at Ekahau are responsible for making your life easier, and today we're going to touch the planning and the site survey part, or the simulation and site survey part of this pie. All right, so let's look at a couple of photos. So what is common with these guys? Any guesses? You can write those on the chat or the QA board. So what is common with all these guys? Also, what's in common with those guys and these photos? The thing is, that's a good guess from James Irvine. Not enough caffeine. That's the other thing. Correct. I'm actually holding a coffee cup in my hand as I speak too. So I do agree, James. But if it's now the comedian started. Another guess. None of them are married. Oh, my apologies. I'll try.
How about the phrase this?
I won't even go there. Anyway, so what I was trying to say is, so these people, both these guys and the previous slide, they probably have been trying to design a Wi-Fi network. So you know, it's a really tiring process to design a Wi-Fi network, and the reason being, you need to indicate the walls of the building to kind of accurately design a Wi-Fi network. So that's the biggest pain in the whole design process. When you look at a 10-story hospital, to design a Wi-Fi network there requires drawing hundreds of thousands of walls, which requires hundreds of thousands of clicks on the map to indicate where the walls are. Well, at least that's what it was before. So that's why we brought enhanced support for identifying the walls into Ekahau Site Survey. So as long as you have CAD drawings, so CAD, computer-aided design drawings from the building managers, you can actually bring automatically the walls into Ekahau Site Survey. But this has been, I mean, CAD has been, the format CAD has been around for ages and ages. So why are we only bringing it now? The thing is, CAD drawings are really, really complex. And this goes kind of behind the scenes. So CAD drawings look like this if you look at them in detail. So one wall segment is actually constructed of several lines, and there's all kinds of material in the CAD drawing that needs to be kind of stripped down to make it simple, easy to understand, and computationally effective. So bringing the CAD drawing as is into the tool is what some of the tools have previously tried, and they didn't work too well, because there was just too much stuff in the CAD drawing, even if you try and strip out the layers. So you need to kind of clean the room, so to speak, so make the messy space into a clean space for the Wi-Fi planner to work optimally. All right, so that's what we call wall outlining wizard in ESS does. All right, so it takes this complex CAD drawing. This is what it would look like if you brought it as is, and it kind of strips down the walls. Look at my PowerPoint animation, it's fading down. I don't know if you saw that, but I'll show it to you again. So from the complex CAD drawing, we actually go into a very simple format. The same walls are there, but only what's necessary is there. All right? And that's what we call WOW, or Wall Outlining Wizard. Every company needs to have a 3-letter acronym, or TLA, so that's what we got. Then there's a question from Colin. Can you also do this with PDF drawings? Currently, no, but in the future, maybe.
Sure.
We've been asked about that, and if it's a multi-layer PDF, then maybe we'll support that in the future as well.
So in ESSA1, we're adding support for importing floor plans in PDF. But that's it for now. So we're not detecting the layers from the PDF.
Yeah. Very good. Thanks, Mikko. Thanks, Colin. Good question. All right. Then I thought I'd show you a demo of the CAD import. How's that? So conveniently, we have a Ekahau Site Survey 8 open here, and if something doesn't work, I'm running a daily build of the Ekahau Site Survey. So if something fails, blame it on the unpublished version I'm running. Without much ado, let's see how it works. So previously, what you did is you bring in the map and then you start drawing walls like crazy, and you click hundreds of thousands of times on the map to indicate where the walls are and select the wall materials, things like that. What we're going to do instead is just select the map. Which one should I choose? For example, this one, and this has to be floor by floor, but then the tool after that does account for floor to floor, interference and floor to floor coverage and things like that. But you need to bring the maps floor by floor. And as I brought in the CAD drawing, you can see that, it actually gives me a preview of the drawing. And on the left, we have all the layers that are there in the CAD drawing, and on the right, we have a preview. So if I click on the layer walls, the interior walls of the drawing should be highlighted. I'm sure you can see it. Yep. So the interior walls of the drawing are highlighted in blue. And then I assign an RF absorbing material for those walls. For example, drywall 3dB. And then there's a question of, can I edit these later? And what if my material is not there? Yep, you can completely edit these later. There's also a new wall material editor in version 8.0 that you can take advantage of. So okay, now the interior walls are assigned as 3dB. How about putting the exterior walls as they should be brick walls? So I'm going to assign them as wall brick 10dB. And then there's some windows, actually plenty of those in the drawing as well. So I'm going to assign those with 1 dB thin window. And then the doors and elevators also play a big part of the CAD import. So what's important to note is how the doors are represented in the CAD drawings. They usually look like this. Let me zoom in a bit. So this is what the wall doors usually look like. You can see them with blue, right? That's how typically they are assigned or shown in a floor plan. What Ekahau Site Survey does is it has enough intelligence in it to detect that this is a door. I might as well actually close it for simulation purposes. Because how you want to do a Wi-Fi design is you need to have a scenario where all the doors are actually closed to make it the RF worst case scenario to create the maximum amount of attenuation. So ESS automatically detects the doors and closes them for you. All you need to do is assign the material. And finally, we'll assign the elevator shafts, because these are pretty important. These are heavily absorbing, and they can be found on most buildings. So that's about it. Now we can see with black color or thicker black lines, we can see which areas have been assigned here. So we are pretty good to go, I believe, with this. So doors are with the black color, walls, elevators. So let's just do it. Let's just import it. And as you can see, actually, before that, you can see that also the scale was automatically brought in from the CAD drawing. And just a word of warning, if you don't have CAD drawings and the scale is not automatically there, you want to assign it carefully if you're doing network planning. Because if you're 20% off in your scale, you might run up with, end up with 20% too many access points. And you have a school of 300 APs, that's 360, and that's 60 too many, and that's easily 30,000 pounds that you spend on Cisco gear unnecessarily. So be careful with the scale.
It might be a great point to take a question. There's just been a great one come in about modifying individual wall types once Autoplanner's done its stuff.
What was that, Carlos? What was the question?
So is it easy to modify individual walls once the Autoplanner has been applied? So can you delete single wall segments? Can you simply click and drag over existing walls? So can you go back to manually placing the wall types once Autoplanner has worked?
Excellent question. So this is what we see after the Autoplanner has worked. So you can just normally continue editing the drawing. You can drag the single wall segments, or you can select multiple wall segments from the map. Or, and this is also new to 8.0. I also had fancy slides about this, but tell you what, I'm actually gonna show a couple of slides regarding that. So, in all honesty, speaking of this editing of wall materials, so editing this wall was actually easier than editing walls in ESS previously. So this was pre 8.0 time. So it was easier to tear down the Berlin Wall than, tear down or change wall materials in ESS. I mean, it was so difficult that guys like Primos, and these are hardcore Wi-Fi engineers, that he made a blog about how to edit Ekahau wall materials. It was that hard. You had to go to configuration files and edit them and stuff like that. So what did we do? We added a wall editor into the user interface. And how does it work? It works like this. So you have the wall materials here. But then if you want to add or delete materials, you can just press plus or minus next to the wall materials. Or if you want to edit the existing wall material, you can just press the wheel, and there's all kinds of editing options available. Attenuation of the wall, width of the wall, total attenuation factor, height of the wall from the ceiling, and the name of the wall material and its color. So everything is now nicely configurable, and you can edit complete or the entire set of this wall material. So you could change all the dry walls, or you could just change one of the segments into something else and then edit that. So
hey, Jussi, for some reason your screen is not fully shown on the viewer.
All right, that's interesting. This is correct. So let me just use the display so that it is shown properly, at least on Mikko's screen. Let me adjust it to the right a bit. Okay. All right. So now at least the site survey window is should be showing completely.
Let's see the slides there.
Yeah, the slides are not probably showing 100%, but we can just do less slides.
Even better. There was also one very good question.
Yeah.
From Colin.
All right. Colin asks, related to this, we recently done a caravan park with static 300 plus caravans. How would you deal with that? So Colin, I'm assuming you are placing the APs fairly high, and then the caravans would be kind of attenuating objects. So how I would deal with that is I would draw the caravans using the attenuation area tool, which is a polygonal tool where you can, draw objects on the map. And I would put, make a new material to the attenuation area called caravan, and, try to make it, the dB per meter match a caravan. You could actually go out and measure one, and then you could, create a caravan material, draw those caravans in there, set also the height of the caravan, and then you would place the APs higher using the AP placement tool, and you can set the height of the radio, stuff like that, and go from there. You can also use directional antennas, and you can define in ESS, you can define the up tilt, the down tilt, the, which direction you want to shoot the beam, stuff like that. So that's how I would go about it. A 300 caravan park. That's the first one up.
Yeah.
First caravan park I've heard of. All right, thanks, Colin. Great question. And to more visualize what I was trying to say to Colin is, once you have the floor plan brought in, you can start placing access points. So, and these walls were now drawn automatically, and I would just place, let's say, a Cisco 3700i. And there's a pretty good list of APs here. Pretty much all the access points out there in the industry are listed, and like 500-600 antennas also, if you're using external antennas, something like that.
No idea now.
We stopped counting.
Yeah.
When we exceeded our competitors' count, then we stopped counting.
That's all
I guess.
that matters.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so yeah, just start placing APs. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna place an AP next to the elevator shaft, which will be to the left from my AP, and we can see the impact of the elevator shaft. As you can see, the signals don't really travel much to the left through the elevator shaft, but they do travel to the north and to the south, also to the right. And if I move the AP next to the corridor, as you can see, the signals go through nicely through the corridor. And what does the yellow and green and gray mean here? So gray means, the signal is not strong enough based on your limit of neg 67 dBm, which is the typical limit for voice over Wi-Fi deployments. And that's also seems to be the ESS default here, which is good because usually the networks are deployed as voice over Wi-Fi networks. So that's kind of how the network planning works. You can either manually place the access points and move them and align the antennas and stuff like that, or you could just use the auto planner tool that's been there for a while already that places the access points based on your requirements. But before that, you should draw a coverage area. So that means where should the network actually operate. So draw one of these polygons around the building, for example, if you want the network to cover the entire building. Something like this. So I'm going to say, yeah, I want the network to actually function inside the entire building. And then I'm going to say, yeah, auto planner, create a network for me based on the Cisco voice over Wi-Fi deployment guidelines. And also, the network needs to support 500 laptops and 300 smartphones. So this is just for the high density, high capacity type of situations. So the tool will not only satisfy your coverage requirements, but also your capacity requirements. And let's say I'm going to use the Cisco 3700Is because I can afford them and they are good. Then there's a question from Martin Henson. Can you use the auto planner for high density deployments?
Yes,
Mikko?
you can. Yes, you can. So yes, you can specify the capacity requirements.
Exactly. Like we just did, we added a few hundred smartphones and laptops, and the tool first it looks at your coverage requirements, so it tries to fulfill the coverage. Let's say, put enough access points to support voice over Wi-Fi. But then, if your capacity requirements, like the number of smartphones and tablets, and even you can go as detailed as even specify the applications run on the smartphones and tablets. So based on that capacity that we calculate, if the coverage, the number of access points based on coverage, if it's not enough, then the tool starts making a denser and denser network until it kind of meets those requirements. Good question. Thank you, Martin. Then there's a question from Dean. Is the dBm bar at the bottom hideable?
It is not yet, but just wait a couple of weeks and it will be.
So, Dean, your feature request has been accepted and it will be deployed
like immediately
in 2 weeks. So and the next version actually will have the dBm slider hideable. You're not the first one to ask, in all honesty. But it's already implemented. If you want to try a beta, you might want to contact Mikko at ekahau.com. Mikko is like, no. Yeah. Sorry, Mikko.
Yeah.
But only for Dean and 100 others. No, we had a pretty big beta program with 8.0, and Mikko is still kind of...
Sure. Yeah, no worries there. So 801 is currently in really QA. Under QA, it takes a couple of weeks, and after that, release.
Then there's a question from lease owners. How do you add external antennas that are not listed?
Yeah, so if they're not listed, give me a note, we'll quite frequently add those into ESS. So what we need is the antenna radiation patterns both for the azimuth and elevation planes, and we just convert those to ESS conf files.
Exactly. So just send an email to Mikko and with the name and model number of the antenna if you don't have any more details, and we'll figure it out from there. We know people who know people.
Yeah.
Here's Mikko's email. All right. Any other questions, or we move forward?
Guys, one of the questions I always get asked on the demos, and why it's not being asked today, I think it would be relevant, is whether it's possible to create multiple coverage areas. So, for instance, where you've got a university where you might have something like a lecture theatre, which has a very different requirement from, say, the rest of the building.
I wish I had $1 every time I hear that question.
I've never heard that question. Oh wait, what was it?
Adding like different coverage areas within one map. That's a feature that's coming still this year. We are hoping so, or it is coming this year. So not yet there, but will be coming. We do realize that in many cases, lecture halls and places like that have high density requirements, whereas the other locations within the map may have, or within the floor plan may have lower density requirements. Good question, Carlos.
One great question from Nick. So about co-channel interference and node planner.
Does the auto planner indicate co-channel interference for high density areas? Yep, you can absolutely check. The auto planner itself does not, but there's a great visualization called channel overlap, which you can use to show which areas are affected by co-channel interference. And what's nice about it is it shows it on both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz at the same time. So it shows, how bad the situation is. I hope this answers Nick's question. So auto planner tries to avoid co-channel interference by, smart placement of APs and channeling and stuff like that. But the channel overlap has become more and more of an issue in Wi-Fi in general, just because these high density requirements and people using the network more and more, the more radios you have on the same or nearby channels, the more your network is affected in a bad way. So in many cases, adding an access point can actually be harmful and not good for the overall capacity. And the channel overlap visualization is a great way to, in a summarized way, just look at that, how does it work, deal with it. All right. So that's kind of how you deal with the planning. Also, if you have an existing network, or if you made a network plan by hand, you can use just the channel planner to optimize the channel automatically. For example, now I have 3 APs here on my floor plan. I could just optimize their channels by hitting the channel planner, say create my channel plan, and now you can see previously the APs were on 1, 6, 11, and the 5 gigahertz radios were on, previously they were all on channel 1, and the channels on 5 gig were 36 in all of the APs. Now it's channels 1, 6, and 11, and the 5 gigahertz channels 36, 44, 64. Again, the button is channel planner. So there's 2 planners. Auto planner here to the left, the icon with the access point and the magic wand, and then the channels and the magic wand is the channel planner. one more question and then we move forward from Olu. Sorry, Mikko is already answering that. I meant Andrew Gardner, and it's about Meru system. Does the auto planning process understand the Meru system that all APs exist on one channel? Yeah, Meru Networks and Extricom, now acquired by Allied Telesis, is they both, Meru and Extricom, utilize single channel blanket as an option. At least for Meru, that's these days, I guess, an option. Does the auto planner recognize that? Yeah, it does. You can, from the advanced settings in the auto planner, you can scroll down and you can select single channel option here. And that will create the network on a single channel on both 2.4 and 5 gig. So definitely we love and support Meru and Extricom as well. All right, another thing I want to show about version 8, I know we're fairly low on time and we want to save some time for the questions as well. What I wanted to show is, okay, we did something for the network designers or those who plan the networks on off-site, so the simulation you just saw. But we also wanted to make something for the surveyors. So for the surveyors, we brought a different kind of survey mechanism. And I'm just skipping through. So what did we bring? We brought a throughput testing tool, since we had no way previously of measuring throughput or jitter. We did have passive surveys already covering signal strength and SNR and stuff. And then the active survey did cover associated AP and round trip time and packet loss, things like that. But for throughput, we brought an iPerf based throughput tester that has been completely integrated into Ekahau Site Survey. And real quickly what that means is you need to have a server software running somewhere in the network that acts in a way as a mirror, or the yeah, you could think of it as a mirroring server. That's a tough word for a Finnish guy to say. But the server component is required for end-to-end testing of throughput. And the protocol we use is called iPerf. And how it works is you fire up ESS and then you just configure the iPerf to be used. And then you install an iPerf server component in one of the servers in the network. It can be an existing computer in the network or a dedicated computer you plug into the network, stuff like that. But usually how you want to test is you want to have the server computer connected to the network with wire, and then you want to have obviously the survey laptop being used wirelessly. All right, kind of tough to explain, but let me show you what I mean. So let me just clear out the access points here. So once you brought in the map, you're ready to survey, obviously. You don't even, you just need the map image. Whether you have walls or not doesn't really matter. So what you do is, first of all, the default configuration for the active surveying is called ping. So that's how we've always done things, and that's the window here. So you can see that we have two Wi-Fi adapters connected to the PC. That's these boxes here. One of them is an Ekahau NIC that does passive site surveys, and one of them is the integrated adapter in the laptop, which does active surveys. And at this point, the active survey method is ping. You just click on that window, and it opens you a slightly modified active survey window. It kind of looks like what we had before, but it gives you the option to test also for throughput. So you would just select throughput as the test method, and then you would configure the throughput test server here. You would install that on the PC that's on that IP, configure your settings here, and then you can again continue surveying normally after that. But the difference is you will be collecting throughput data and not ping data as you were before. So what throughput enables you to get is, first of all, obviously it measures throughput. So how much data is end-to-end being sent and received by this Wi-Fi adapter. So it gives you an idea of the capacity in the network, perhaps how crowded the network is. In the end, it's just about how much data is being transmitted back and forth at the maximum at this point. In addition to throughput, the throughput measurement capabilities give you a couple of other things too. First of all, it measures packet loss. If you're using UDP as the protocol, it measures packet loss, which is always useful. Ping also measures that, but using a different protocol. And what throughput testing also gives you is the jitter. So the variance in the packet delays. It's kind of hard to explain in 2 minutes, but that's what it tries to be. And jitter is an especially important metric for voice over Wi-Fi measurement. So the more variation in your send-receive times, the more the voice call quality suffers. So important metrics. Bear in mind that jitter and packet loss are only available if you use UDP-based iPerf or throughput testing. Going into more details there already than necessary, but the end result is that when you look at heat maps like throughput, previously we have shown what would be the calculated maximum throughput. But if you have surveyed for throughput, now we show the actual throughput that you'll be getting. And you will be able to survey throughput using both of these of the survey methods, the traditional continuous site survey that we've always had, and also what's called the stop and go site survey. And there's actually a great article in our blog about the differences of stop and go and continuous that's been written by Kevin France, and one of the leading Wi-Fi guys in the world. He just wrote a guest blog about these two methods and how they differ. There's also another blog entry by myself that's a few months old. But anyways, you can use throughput for either one of these, but I would recommend, if you're doing throughput testing, probably want to use stop and go, because it just, gives you the ability to measure enough throughput data in one spot at one time. But it's more a preference thing. It's a preference thing more than anything else. So that's the other big improvement in Ekahau Site Survey 8, throughput testing. And again, here's the metrics. And if you're using, if you start using the throughput testing, we'd be happy to hear how do you use it, in what kind of environments, what kind of results you're having, anything you anything you can share us regarding your testing results will help us make the next version of throughput better.
Actually, Jussi, one of the things that's been asked for by a number of our guests in the past, certainly on web demos, is whether Amanda could maybe do a video, Wi-Fi Amanda, just purely on throughput testing?
Absolutely. Actually, that's a good question, and there already is, I believe, an ESS 8.0 video where Amanda shows how to use the throughput testing, but it's preceded by, I think there's two things in the video, the CAD drawing support and the throughput testing. So I agree. We should have a separate one just focused in throughput. So yeah, let's keep that in mind. Absolutely. Or we could just strip down the existing video and only cut it to the throughput testing part as well. That's a good question. Any other questions at this point?
There's lots of how-to questions that Mikko's beavering away, answering excellently, but I think for time reasons, I think we should carry on for just the time being.
Very good, very good. So when it comes to the antennas, Ekahau Site Survey 8 brings another 50 plus new antennas and access points into the network planning database, and in the last 18 months alone, we've added something like 400 APs and antennas. So we are really working hard to keep up with the industry. And often it is the case that we get actually the antenna patterns for an access point even before the access point has been publicly released. So we're trying our best, but if there's something missing, don't hesitate to contact us. We'd be happy to help out. Now, if you are an existing Ekahau Site Survey customer, a couple of words about our new licensing system. So first of all, you will need a new license key to run the version 8.0. But it also enables you kind of faster customer service from our side. So if you contact us and our customer service rep asks you for your license key, you do not anymore have a separate support key for the product, but your license key for the product is actually all you need. And when you purchase, let's say when you extend your support and maintenance agreement, which is due yearly, the same license key will still be valid for you, and the tool will run automatically once our administrators have added. Once you have purchased the support and maintenance for the next year, the same license key will work. You will automatically be prompted that here's your updates that are available, stuff like that. It's just, in short, our new license management system doesn't really bug you that much. It just makes your life easier and simpler in the long run. And same for, our dear partners like Open Reality should see that, things will become much more easy in the long run. All right, we are a few minutes past the hours, so now would be a good time to ask some more questions and also take some of the most frequently asked questions. I know Carlos has done hundreds of webinars, so if there's no really frequently asked ones here that Mikko has answered, maybe you can throw out some that you get asked most of the time.
Absolutely. I mean, a couple of really good questions and ones we hear quite often. So there's one here from Neil that I know Mikko's already answered, but maybe worth just opening up to the floor. And that's within the survey, is it important to measure the floor plan before starting the survey?
Great question. So do you need to kind of indicate the scale before starting the survey?
That's right, yeah.
No need to measure the floor plan before starting the survey, and this is how our tool differs from some of the other ones, is that you can change the scale anytime you want, and you can start surveying without putting in any kind of a scale. Of course, it's good practice to do so, but you can put in the scale at any time, even after the survey, and then the tool will just automatically adjust. Good question.
The other question, there's a number of questions around NIC cards and NIC Hub, and obviously the convenience of the speed of survey. So perhaps maybe you can just give us a little sort of synopsis of the benefits of the NIC Hub and the extra NIC cards.
Certainly. So when you are surveying the site, so when you're walking the site and kind of making the Wi-Fi tests, there's two adapters at play usually. The external Ekahau adapter that passively scans through all the channels all the time, continuously, and listens, what are the APs that are out there, what are their signal strengths and things like that. And then there's another, usually the laptop integrated adapter that's doing the active testing, so pinging or doing throughput testing. And for the external adapter that's doing the passive testing, so cycling through the channels and listening to all the access points out there, the cycle it takes to scan through all the channels in 2.4 and 5 GHz frequencies is approximately 5 seconds. And now to speed things up, you might add a second, even a third Ekahau adapter to your laptop to speed up the scan cycle so that you can actually walk more quickly around the site, or even run around the site doing your survey, or drive.
I think there's a great blog video, isn't there, on the blog site about you guys doing surveys. Was it in a car, or was it on segways or something that obviously just emphasize that point?
Yeah, absolutely. One of our employees, our trainer, actually, Keith Parsons, has a Segway that he uses for wide area surveys. We have used car, and our customers have used cars, even trains, to survey areas. So absolutely. And if you're doing outdoor surveys, you can plug in the GPS receiver into the laptop, so you don't even need to, click on the map. The GPS will automatically plot your route as you go. So certainly there's different methods of doing that, and there are some videos on our website that cover that. And also if you want to check out the Segway references, you can find them in some of my presentations. Some of my earlier presentations, I could actually send a link there, but I don't know how to use the chat, so I'll just no.
Not a problem. I'm sure we can post that to everybody after the demonstration today. Another thing, and Mark Pearson, who's unfortunately had to leave us, has brought up another great question, and it's the first time somebody today has brought up Cisco Prime, but it's what is the integration of map sets with Cisco Prime?
Good question. The integration with Cisco Prime. Two things that you can do. You can design a network with ESS, so to do the simulation, planning, whatever, and then export the maps, the walls, the AP locations into Prime. The other thing that you can do is import the maps from Prime, and then do site surveys, and then export the survey data into Prime to enhance, for example, the operation of MSE, the Cisco Mobility Services engine. There's a great question also from Phil. Is TXRX, so transmit receive throughput testing, at the same time on the horizon? So that's a good question. Now we support only transmit or receive throughput testing at a time. So Phil, I guess my question to you is, how would you do it? What would you use it for? And this would be, of course, a cycle. First we transmit test, then we receive test. I believe that's how iPerf, some of the iPerf clients do it. So is that, Phil, what you had in mind? And why would you use it instead of one or the other? Well, I guess obviously you want to test both ways, but is there any details, Phil, that you could share with us? Maybe email Mikko or myself, or we should take that more offline. But every now and then, I guess, we deliberately left off the simultaneous TXRX testing because it took us less time to implement it, and we, liberated us more time to drink beer. So, Phil, let's talk more offline. Yeah, Mikko is coughing because he only drinks cider, not beer.
True.
So certainly that's a question we can organise and take offline. There's a couple more sort of how-to. So again, questions from Lee. Thank you, Lee. In regards to how many NIC cards would you recommend surveying at the same time?
I like to use 2 Ekahau adapters and then one either integrated adapter or some other, let's say 802.11ac USB adapter. So 2 Ekahau adapters is my preference.
And why is that?
I don't know, 3. And a word of warning, not all the laptops can supply power through USB ports like infinitely. So that's why with most all laptops that I used, they can power up 2 adapters, 2 Ekahau adapters quite nicely. But with the third one, we've seen some challenges at times.
A question I've had on email, guys, is in regards to the reporting, and it's something actually that came up in a demo last week, and it's in the audit part of the report. Is it possible to have a count of the number of type of access points, obviously that can be displayed to the customer?
Very good question. So unfortunately, that's not possible at the moment, but that is on the near-term roadmap.
Fantastic. Okay, I think what we'll do is, because we're running a little over time, so let's take sort of one last question before we open up the lines for those that want to stay with us, and it's from Shane. So when generating reports, why does the DB setting you allocate not get picked up in the report? So I suppose, guys, is it possible to pick up the DB in the report?
I'm not sure I understand the question. So do you mean the legend is not shown? Or
I don't know. Shane, if you could maybe elaborate on that question, or what we can do is we can open up the line so you can talk directly to Mikko in a minute. That would be fantastic. So Cisco, right? We're getting sort of lots of things I think we can take sort of offline at this point, and certainly there's sort of lots of questions here for maybe how-to videos and blogs. So what we'll do is we'll maybe park it there for today, guys, for those that are joining us. For those that would like to stay and ask direct questions to Jussi and Mikko, you'd be very welcome. So what I'll do is let's just have a 20-second break just to stop the recording.